So the news that's going around online right now is that Disney is possibly interested in buying Fortnite sometime in the future. This is something that hasn't been confirmed yet, but this is just like speculative because I guess like they're collaborating with each other right now, and I believe like they're supposed to be doing something with Marvel that's supposed to be releasing a little bit later this year in this upcoming fall, and yeah, I think that's kind of like a step closer to whether or not those rumors may be true or not, because it was revealed like back in I want to say around like 2024 that Disney had pretty much invested like 1.5 billion in Epic Games because they want to create a Disney universe within Fortnite, and it's supposed to be separate from like everything else that's there, and it's something that a lot of people are intrigued by, and it's like there's a lot of money to be made off of it, so why not go ahead and do it? Because I feel like Fortnite pretty much caters to a broad audience, and it's more family friendly than a lot of other shooters out there. And you look at Fortnite, obviously it's past its peak in terms of popularity, and I feel like this is something that's probably going to help draw interest in VIP once again. And the thing is, like, Fortnite's been around since 2017. I think they're like on chapter 7 or something like that. And a lot of people just, figured that Epic Games is going to do everything they can to milk this game out for what it is for as long as they possibly can. And not only that, I think Epic Games is trying to well, it's gonna help them, like, reform their image in some ways. It's gonna help, like, heal their image, because back in 2020, everybody knows that Epic Games was involved in a nasty lawsuit with Apple, and, I think, like, for the most part, like, Epic Games, like, won partially. They won that suit against Apple, but at the same time, a lot of people believe that their reputation's been harmed or damaged because of that lawsuit. And even though like Epic Games for the most part was in the right, it's just that I don't know, it's just not a good look for a AAA video game developer, because people look at stuff like that and they think, oh, you know what, this company is pretty much like, they're petty and whatever. But I don't know, like, Fortnite is as popular as it is. A lot of people have problems with it because they don't like the aggressive monetization that's included in that game. And that's just about like every video game nowadays. I don't think it's just Fortnite, because I don't know. Video game developers are more greedier than ever now, and they're doing everything they can to squeeze as much money out of players they possibly can. But there's a lot of like diehard fans of Fortnite who will still, like, pay as much as they possibly can to continue playing the game and enjoying it and all that other stuff. And then you look at all these like collabos with pop artists and movies and different other like franchises from different universe. I mean, Fortnite still has a ton of appeal to it. And I feel like the collabos has been keeping, Fortnite relevant for all these years. So I honestly feel like this thing with Disney could possibly, um, it could be a step towards confirming what a lot of people have been suspecting. I believe like a former executive said that, that maybe like, the buyout should possibly happen. But I think it's kind of weird how like post COVID, there's been like a lot of, buyouts between like different, like video game companies, and there's been like mergers and all that other stuff. And and I don't know, a lot of people are fearful as to what the fate of Fortnite could be, because like right now a lot of people feel like it's doing okay, but it was revealed not too long ago that Epic Games planned on slashing like 1,000 jobs, because I think Fortnite right now has been they've been like lacking engagement, and I guess the player count is down, and as a result they're not as making as much as they should. And I think them making the decision to cut like 1,000 jobs is their way of trying to restructure things and to be like cost effective. But a lot of people probably know the real story and they're like, oh, they just want to keep their, they just want to maximize their profits, which is something that's absolutely understandable. But you got to understand that Fortnite is a game that's almost a decade old, because like I said, it's been out since 2017, so this year would mark like year 9 or whatever since it's been out, and, and you could only make so much money off of one game for so long, and you look at, like, games like World of Warcraft, that's been around since 2004, and I think like, a couple of years ago, they did, like, a DLC or something like that, so, yeah, it's like video game companies will do anything they can to make as much money off of, video games as they possibly can, and that's understandable because, AAA video game, creators are in the corporate world, and they do what they have to in order to maximize their profits and all that other stuff. But you look at Fortnite and how much it's valued at. I think it's valued at over like $22 billion. So it's just like it's one of the biggest like IPs in video game history. It's one of the biggest IPs to have emerged within this past decade, and a lot of people are fearful of, Disney possibly ruining Fortnite if they end up buying it out. And a lot of people felt the same way about Marvel before Disney bought out Marvel in the late 2000s. And while some people would say that, Disney has, ruined Marvel and stuff like that, it seems like Marvel's more popular than ever. But a lot of like old school diehard Marvel fans, they think it's ruined because it's not what they grew up loving and all that because of wokeness and stuff like that. So it is what it is. Everybody has their own respective opinion about all of that. But as far as Disney and Fortnite is concerned, I honestly feel like the collabo is obviously going to be a big deal. And and I don't think like any like executives from Epic Games or Disney has flat out come out and confirmed that, yeah, this is something that's going to happen. Disney is eventually going to buy out Fortnite. But but yeah, it's like we've seen so many buyouts within the past couple of years. We just learned about the whole thing with Paramount and Warner Brothers, and then there was the acquisition between Microsoft and Activision Blizzard, and Sony and Bungie. It's like I don't know. It seemed like post COVID, like that. This has just been a trend with like corporations like buying out like popular like video game developers, and a lot of people are fearful of what the future holds, and there's like a lot of uncertainty on whether or not certain IPs are going to be ruined by like certain acquisitions or what have you. But yeah, we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens. Nothing has been confirmed as of yet, but a lot of people, including myself, are crossing our fingers and we're just hoping for the best for now.